Hello and welcome back to the Frugal Granny channel. It's Thursday and it's time for Coffee and Catch Up 21. Can you believe it? 21 Thursdays of financial catch-ups. Anyway, my name's Ali and I'm Frugal Granny. I'm a 64 and 3/4-year-old, getting closer to the 65 every week, semi-retiree, and I am trying to do the best with what I've got on a part-time job, 3 small annuities and a YouTube creator income between retiring, semi-retiring in spring this year and getting my state pension in July 2027. If you're new here, then you're really very welcome. It's lovely to see you and I hope you'll stick around. And if you're a returning viewer, it's lovely to see you again. And I guess you probably know what to expect on Thursdays by now. Basically, what I do on Thursdays is have a quick roundup of the financial issues I've faced over the previous week and the challenges that I face in the week to come. Well, I will be quite honest with you, I don't know where to start this week. I've had a really bumpy week. I have been on call for my family most of the week. I don't want to go into what's happened. Don't worry, nobody's hurt, but there's been a difficult situation that I've had to help sort out, and it has caused a few hiccups in my finances, but I think that by the end of next week, when I get my supermarket pay, I should be back on the straight and narrow. I'm not sure whether it was in the last Coffee and Catch Up or the one before, probably the last one. I said that I was running out of funds for September and I was basically on a £1 a day challenge. That's not to live on, but that was, the money I'd got left in my bank account was effectively equivalent to £1 a day. Well, I did get to the end of September without spending more than £1 a day off that bank account. But as you can imagine, with what I've just said, that really wasn't the end of the story. Let me just have a look at September's spreadsheet. Yep, I actually balanced the books at the end of September by buying a packet of chicken drumsticks to cook for the dogs for their dinners. And I'm already now into week 1 of October. I paid myself my monthly living allowance yesterday. And basically what I do with that is in the weeks running up to the beginning of a month, all of my income goes into what I call my buffer fund once it's been taxed, if it needs taxing. And then I pay myself £1,400 on the first of every month, which is my living allowance for the month. If you want to know more about how my buffer fund works, I'm going to link my buffer fund video in the top right hand corner. But I think it might be an idea just to have a look at what my income was for September that's enabled me to pay myself for October. And also, and I'm really sorry, I'm not going to mention the glasses word again, but I've also had to pay off my glasses from the buffer fund temporarily to clear my credit card. So the balance on the buffer fund is a lot lower than I had expected it to be at the end of September. But come the end of next week, when I get my supermarket pay, I'm going to put the normal amount from that pay into the buffer fund plus an extra 300 to repay the buffer fund for the bridging loan on my glasses. So things are a little bit complicated in my financial world at the moment, but I'm hoping by the end of the next week it will all have come out in the wash. Right, let me just have a look at my buffer fund for September. According to my spreadsheet, which is what I'm always looking at when I'm looking off down to the right, my monthly income for September from all sources, that includes my 3 annuities, my supermarket pay, and donations through Buy Me a Coffee and 3 annuities came to £1,679. And yesterday I withdrew my 1,400 plus the 300 to pay for the glasses, and the balance in the buffer fund at the moment is now 355. If I hadn't taken out the money for the glasses, it would be £655. Now, those of you who've been following me for a while know that I'm trying to build up the balance in that buffer fund to at least 1,400, so that I always have a month's living allowance in hand. So once I've got my supermarket pay at the end of next week and I've repaid the buffer fund £300 for the glasses, I shall be back on track there, and I will be almost halfway to achieving my 1 month living allowance buffer within that fund. Yeah, so I think the buffer fund is working. I'm just really cross that I've had to borrow that money from it to pay for my glasses, but I guess I should just be grateful and happy that that money was there to enable me to actually do that. The glasses have been a big expense this summer. These are not the glasses. These are my nasty supermarket ones that I wear for screen work. Yeah, they were a big expense, one that I wasn't really expecting or prepared for. I knew I needed new glasses, but what you need to understand is that the glasses I've been wearing up till then, I've either been wearing these cheap and nasty things, or I was funded VDU glasses through my office job, and the last time I had to go for those, it actually cost me nothing. So that's one thing that I have found as a result of leaving my office job, is that I now am getting stung for glasses, and that is one thing that I had not anticipated. So, maybe if you're in an office job that helps fund your VDU use glasses, which can also be used for other things, then that's something you need to bear in mind after you retire, is that voucher and that facility isn't going to be there any longer. And also, your eyesight can deteriorate. Mine has certainly deteriorated over the last 2 years. And so having the glasses was a big expense. Okay, I bought 2 pairs, which was double the expense, but I'm just one of those people who just likes to have a backup for everything. So I wanted to have the spare pair. I didn't want to be in the situation where I broke the only pair I'd got, and that I was fumbling around and waiting for a week until I could get a new pair from the opticians. Right, so that's the glasses and the buffer fund. So I'm pleased with the way the buffer fund is working. And as I said, I paid myself my £1,400 yesterday. And yesterday morning I sat and allocated that money to my sinking funds. Nothing has changed in that respect since last month. It will change next month, because from next month I have to start paying Bella's vet monthly subscription for wormers, flea medication, nurse checkups, annual inoculation, etc., and that will be £19.50, which is the same that I pay for Kitty. But this month, because I paid 2 months in advance when I took her for her first jab, I won't be paying anything in October, and the direct debit kicks in November. I do want to try and pay that £39 that I paid initially at the beginning of September. I do want to pay that back to the vet fund at some point, and I'm hoping that there'll be spare money in my supermarket salary paycheck at the end of next week to do that. That little debt is on my list of I'd like to pay myself back if I can. When I edit the video, I will put a picture in a picture to the right so that you can see how I've allocated my money for this month. It will be familiar to those of you who are regular followers, but those of you who are new, I'm putting it there for your sake really, so you don't have to go back and Scrabble in one of my old coffee and catch-ups. So basically, from my 1,400, at the moment I'm putting £100 in my savings. I may have to dig into that to clear a few unexpected expenses from September, but at the moment I've put it into a savings account which I can make a penalty-free withdrawal from if needs be, and I'm very aware I may lose that £100 savings depending on how much my supermarket pay is at the end of next week. But for the time being, £100 in savings. £500 goes into a different account to pay for my utilities, and that involves gas and electricity, water, council tax, my mobile phone bill, my internet connection, my mobile phone insurance, and my dentist subscription. And there is a little bit left over every month, and what I'm trying to do over the course of a year is build up a buffer within that fund so that I've got 3 months worth of utilities. So I'm trying to build up a £1,500 excess in that account. So no, my utilities don't all cost £500 a month. There is a slight excess in there which I'm hoping will build up as time goes by. Then my car sinking fund, that's £100. That fund is quite low at the moment because of the big bills I had over the summer for car repairs, including the power steering cable. I had an email from the Automobile Association yesterday to say it's time to renew my membership, and that's an eye-stinging £230 because I've been a member of the Automobile Association for 42 years now, can you believe it? And I'm what they call a gold member, which makes me feel a little bit like a secret agent, but maybe not. But it's not so secret that it's blinking expensive. So I'm going to ring them up and see if I can talk them down a bit, see if maybe I can take at least the home start off it, maybe the relay, I don't know, but I'm going to talk to them, see if I can bring it down, because $230 does seem an awful lot. But I also get car and house key insurance cover on that, which is quite useful. So yeah, the car sinking fund covers things like the AA breakdown cover, my road tax, my MOT, servicing, and my insurance. The insurance is due at the end of December, and this is what I'm worried about, is that I don't want to spend too much on the breakdown cover and then not have enough money to pay for my insurance at the end of December, but we'll see how it goes. Right, then my annual expenses fund, I put £50 in that. That pays for chimney sweeping for my 2 wood stoves, my boiler service, and house insurance, yeah, and my internet security. That's what that pays for. Then £75 into my firewood fund. That pays for my wood stove firewood, which I buy in every summer. And then optician and dentist, £40, so that's £20 each for them each month. The vet fund for the dogs, £50. Now I've got 2 dogs. I really ought to think about trying to increase that, but at the moment I can't. So I'm just sort of keeping my fingers crossed at the moment that there aren't going to be any accidents, and I'm trying to manage the dogs very carefully to make sure there aren't. Bella went for her second inoculation yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. And I did talk to the nurse about how much the spay is going to cost, and it's going to be about £299. So let's say £300, but that won't be until the new year. So as the Christmas overtime comes into play, I need to bear in mind that I've got to try and earn some money to pay for Bella's spay, which will probably be in the new year. She hasn't come into season yet, but once she has, I think it'll be about 2 to 3 months after that. So we've still got a bit of time. Then I've mentioned Kitty's medical subscription. That's gone out. That was £19.50. Repair and replace fund, £25. I have been thinking about my repair and replace fund, and I'm just wondering whether I ought to amalgamate that now into my emergency fund going forward. So the repair and replace fund may disappear next month, in the sense that I won't be making any more contributions to it, and that money may be reallocated to Bella's monthly veterinary subscription. So that's what I'm thinking there. I'm still putting £25 a month towards the new fridge. I'm up to, I think, about £100 in that little pot now. Still got a way to go, and I've still got a lot of thinking to do about that, because there's some news on the horizon that means I may not need to get a bigger fridge after all. We'll just have to see. Then £50 for the work phone that I sponsor for one of my kids to support their business, and then £8.99 for Amazon Prime, and then £25 for petrol. And that leaves me with a grand total of £231.51. And I will be budgeting £45 a week for food and consumables again. And if I do that for 4 weeks, that will leave me with £50 discretionary spending and £1.51 balance. Now, October is longer than 28 days. And so what I'm trying to do this week is stretch week 1 to the end of next week, so that I'm going to do my long week at the beginning of the month this time round, rather than trying to stretch funds at the end of the month. So that's what I'm going to try and do this month. Now, I did indicate that I've overspent terribly, and although it may not be apparent on my current account, it is certainly apparent on my credit card. And I really hate to confess about this, because I'm not the sort of person that throws things on my credit card. I've had to, because of various things. I've had to put £50 on there to pay for extra petrol for all the running around I've had to do after my family in the last few weeks. I've also spent about £50 towards that situation. And I don't want to go into that any further, because, you know, I think people know by now that people in the niche that I belong to, we have boundaries when it comes to talking about what's going on with our families. But I just want you to know, nobody's ill, nobody's hurt, but it has taken a lot of time, a fair bit of money, and a lot of running around over the last week to get things sorted out. But hopefully we're nearly there. We're nearly there now, but it has meant that there's 50 quid on my credit card that I hadn't anticipated. And then, as I've indicated, I think it might have been in Magazine Monday, I fell for a couple of, let's get some bargains while we've got a coupon. And I bought some barbecue charcoal that was half price, and then I got 15% discount on it. So I spent £18 on barbecue charcoal. I think I got 4 bags at £5 each plus discount. And then, as I said on Monday, I spent $37.95 on coffee that's going to last me into the new year. How am I going to solve that? I can solve it. It's just a matter of reining in for the rest of this week and for the whole of next week. And that's basically why I'm trying to make week 1 stretch until next Saturday, which is the 11th of October. So I'm trying to stretch out week 1. I'm going to be living mainly completely out of my freezer and my pantry. So how am I going to pay this? Well, what I have figured out, I keep a spreadsheet where I log my hours at the supermarket. I've managed to work out my pay. Thank you very much, I think it was, to Tracy, who helped me understand how my pay is being worked out at the moment. So I've basically plugged my figures into a tax calculator website and got a ballpark estimate of what my paycheck will be Friday week. And I've put all of these things against that, and I should actually be able to cover all of it and still have a little bit to spare. So at the moment, I'm feeling a bit antsy because I don't like things sitting on my credit card. I don't like the fact that I've taken advantage of bargains but stabbed myself in the foot. I don't like the fact that life has happened and I've had to throw funds at a situation that I hadn't anticipated, but that's what emergency funds are for. Technically speaking, I could take that money out of my emergency fund, but I don't want to at the moment. I just going to let it sit until the supermarket salary comes in, and whatever is left on that list that I can't deal with, I will mop up from my emergency fund. Then I'm just going to take a deep breath and just keep going forward. That's all we can do, really. But the other thing that's happened this week that sort of knocked the wind out of my sails slightly is now that we're actually into October, a couple of days, YouTube has done up its estimated income for September, and my YouTube income is down again. It's down again for September compared to August. So my August YouTube income, I think I mentioned last week, was 477. My projected income for September is 427. So I'm going to be another £50 down. And that money that I get paid for September in October helps fund my living expenses for November. So I know already that I'm £50 down for November. And technically speaking, this is what the buffer fund is for. You know, that's why I need that buffer in there. So if things are down a bit one month, then I've still got that money there to keep paying myself the same living allowance every month. But I don't like the fact it's down. So what I'm hoping to do with next week's supermarket paycheck is put an extra £50 from there into my buffer fund to make up for the projected deficit on my YouTube income for September. And then that should still hopefully balance the books. I've also been looking to pick up some more shifts, which really makes me question, you know, am I semi-retired or not? Because I am practically working full-time hours at the moment just to keep my head above water and to cope with what life's throwing at me. I'm just grateful for that option, but I'm really, really relieved that I've had a week off this week. And I'm just hoping to have some time later today, tomorrow and Saturday just to defragment a bit, because it's been a lot. It's not just for me, but you know, for the family members that I've been supporting and helping. I don't know, it just all feels a little bit of a mess to me at the moment, quite frankly. And then on top of all that, there's the broken laptop situation. That's ongoing at the moment. Does look like there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The 0% credit card arrived yesterday, but I am having second thoughts now about whether to actually use that and rather maybe just go to pay for it outright so that I haven't got a debt hanging over my head. I'm still thinking about that one. I am this afternoon going to dig out the house insurance paperwork and talk to my home contents insurer and see if they can help me in any way about that. The only trouble with doing that is that you end up with a higher premium in the following year. And I have had so many claims one year that my insurer refused to reinsure me, and I had to go with some crazy little unknown insurer. But that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago when I still had a mortgage and I was legally obliged to have insurance. That was a tricky year. So, I mean, after that sort of experience, I'm very wary about asking my home insurance people about anything, but that's what we pay home insurance for. So I'm going to have a word with them and see, you know, if I've got any grounds to claim for this broken laptop, and then if I have and they send me a check, then I won't have to put it on this credit card. Or if I do put it on the credit card, then I can pay it off very quick with whatever they decide to send me when they send it. And I mean, the reason I need to repair that laptop is because I do use it for YouTube, and I use it for my spreadsheets, and in another life I was a translator and a proofreader, and I may still get the odd contract to do that going forward. So I'm just a lot happier with a laptop, but I must admit I'm getting better with the iPad, but I'm still struggling using it for Gmail, and I'm not very confident about using it for online banking. So I would rather still have my laptop. So anyway, so that's it really for this week. There's been a lot going on, but I'm at a juncture now where I can sort of take a deep breath. I don't want to wish my life away and wish the end of next week here faster than necessary, but I'm hoping by this time next week I will be able to report that I've got all of this resolved, and that I can move on the way I intend to continue with my credit card cleared, and a lot of the things that I want to repay repaid. So yeah, just because you retire doesn't mean life stops happening, unfortunately. And I've certainly had a fair dose of life this week. But as I said, nobody's died, nobody's hurt, so that's the main thing. The only thing that's hurt's my bank account. Gosh. I must admit, I woke up this morning and this was the first time really I just sort of really missed my office salary. I really thought, if I was still in my office job, I wouldn't have battered an eyelid about what's happened over the last week, but I'm not. But then if I was still in my office job, I wouldn't have been free to rush around helping my family with the things I've had to help them with over the last 7 days. So what's more important? I think for me, being there for my family. It just goes to show it doesn't matter whether they're 3 or 33. They still need you sometimes. They still need you to be there and do stuff for them. So, and I'm glad to be able to do that, whether it's running around in my car or, just getting them stuff that they need because they're too stressed to think about the fact that they need those things. Anyway, I think I've well overstayed my welcome, and I'll see you on Saturday. I'm thinking of trying something new on Saturday. I've bought myself something new. It's this is the side I should really show you. It's a gooseneck clamp mount for tablet and phone. So I thought that what I could do is, seeing as though I'm off this week, I might take a trip to my favourite Swedish furnishing store and have a look and see what they've got, and clamp this to the trolley handle and take you all with me. I don't know, we'll see how I feel. That might be quite fun. Not that I've got any money to spend there, to be honest, but it still might be quite fun. So I thought we might do that on Saturday. But anyway, I'll see you on Saturday, and I hope that you have a good weekend. Okay, thank you, and bye for now. Kitty and Bella fix. That's the other thing I can do with this gooseneck. I can put it on their buggy and we can go for a walk together. Hey, kitty cat. Kitty cat, are you a good kitty? It's Bella Wella. Oh, stretchy Bella. Don't, just go and sit down. Go and sit down. Go and sit down. Go on. Bella. 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 Kitty. Bella. Bella Wella. Stink eye.